There's a debate happening on the floor at Bitcoin 2026 right now. The SEC chair, the FBI director, BlackRock, and Eric Trump are all on stage at a Bitcoin conference. People are calling it capture, a betrayal. They're not wrong to feel it, but they're wrong about what it means. Bitcoin was not built for people who share values. It was built for people who don't. That's not rhetorical, it's the architecture. Zero trust consensus means the protocol assumes every participant is a potential adversary. Satoshi encoded this in 2008, not as a philosophical preference, but as a technical requirement. The system works precisely because no one has to be trusted. When institutions arrive at the table, the instinct is to read it as contamination. But contamination requires porousness, a membrane that can be breached. Bitcoin's rules aren't held by anyone. They're enforced by everyone, simultaneously, against everyone else. The SEC chair cannot change the block size. BlackRock cannot alter the issuance schedule. The 21 million cap isn't a policy that can be lobbied. It's a mathematical boundary that exists whether or not its holders approve of each other's politics, values, or intentions. This is what zero trust means in practice. The cypherpunk and the suit can both hold Bitcoin. Neither can corrupt it. The protocol doesn't arbitrate between them. It simply refuses to recognize the distinction. Capture requires a control surface. Fiat has one. The Federal Reserve's board, the Treasury's mandate, the stroke of a pen that redefines M1 in May 2020 and expands the money supply 40% in 18 months. Every fiat system has a point of failure, a human decision at the center. Bitcoin has no such point. There is no board, no mandate, no pen. The rules aren't held in trust by an institution. They're distributed across tens of thousands of nodes running identical code, each one independently verifying every transaction against the same fixed set of rules. You cannot capture what has no center. The deeper concern, and it's worth taking seriously, is normalization risk. That institutions showing up doesn't change the protocol, but does it change the culture? Does the presence of regulators and banks gradually shift what Bitcoin is for in the public imagination? Possibly. But this is an argument about narrative, not architecture. And Bitcoin doesn't run on narrative. It runs on proof of work. The culture around it can drift. The monetary properties cannot. Gold provides a clean precedent. Central banks hold over 35,000 metric tons of gold, more than any private entity on Earth. That institutional accumulation did not alter gold's atomic structure. Its scarcity remained. Bitcoin's enforced scarcity is more rigid than gold's. No new deposit can be discovered. No issuance rate can be adjusted. Institutional adoption is the stress test, not the failure mode. What the critics are actually naming, underneath the language of capture, is the feeling that something that once belonged to the margins is being absorbed by the center. That feeling is real, but it misreads the direction of absorption. The institutions are not absorbing Bitcoin, they are being absorbed by its logic. Every ETF filing, every balance sheet allocation, every regulatory framework built around Bitcoin's existence is an acknowledgement that the rules cannot be changed, that the 21 million is fixed, that the system does not require their cooperation to function. That's not normalization. That's capitulation, dressed in a suit, arriving on stage, but capitulation nonetheless. Satoshi didn't build a system for the trustworthy. He built a system that makes trust irrelevant. The fact that its adversaries are now its participants isn't a contradiction of that design. It's the proof that the design worked. If this episode made you think differently, subscribe. New episodes every week. And if you want to go deeper, there's more waiting for you. This is not a channel about price. It's a channel about civilization.